For the past 15 years, my life has been dedicated to the intricate dance of human biology. I've spent thousands of hours analyzing clinical markers, studying cellular decay, and looking for the holy grail of longevity. But it wasn't until I hit my own 40th birthday that the data became personal. I began to notice things that shouldn't have been there. A slight lingering brain fog after lunch, a subtle heaviness in my calves after a long day in the clinic, and hands that felt cold even in a warm room. As a researcher, I knew exactly what was happening. My vascular system was beginning its inevitable retreat. Most people believe that heart issues and poor circulation are old people problems, something to worry about in your 60s or 70s. But the science tells a much darker story. Our arteries actually begin to stiffen in our late 30s. The smooth, elastic lining of your vessels, known as the endothelium, starts to become less responsive. It produces less nitric oxide, the gas responsible for keeping your blood flow effortless. Think of your circulatory system like the plumbing in a high-end mansion. After 40 years, even the best pipes start to show scale and reduced pressure. I decided to treat myself as a clinical study of one. I didn't want to rely on pharmaceuticals that merely mask symptoms. I wanted to re-engineer my biology from the inside out. I looked at the most fundamental element of human life: hydration. We are told to drink 8 glasses of water a day, but for a 40-year-old body, plain water is often not enough. If your cellular gateways are sluggish and your vessels are constricted, that water just passes through you without actually nourishing the tissues. I spent months testing over 60 different natural compounds, electrolytes, and phytochemicals to see which ones could actually change the physical properties of my blood flow. This wasn't about a quick fix. It was about finding a way to trigger a survival response in the veins. What I found changed my life. I went from feeling like a middle-aged man on a slow decline to having the energy and recovery speed of someone in their mid-20s. In this deep dive masterclass, I'm going to break down the 5 specific water additions that stood up to the rigors of my research. The first breakthrough in my research was understanding that circulation isn't just about the heart pumping harder. It's about the vessels flexing better. This brings us to the first addition: a precise infusion of cucumber and mint. To the casual observer, this looks like spa water, but to a longevity researcher, it is a structural intervention. As we age, specifically past 40, our body's levels of silica, a trace mineral essential for collagen synthesis, begin to plummet. Why does this matter for your blood? Because your arteries are made of connective tissue. When silica levels drop, your vessel walls become brittle. Brittle walls lead to higher blood pressure because they can't expand when your heart beats. By using organic cucumber skins, the highest natural source of bioavailable silica, and allowing them to cold steep, we create a solution that helps reinforce the structural integrity of the vascular pipes. But the cucumber is only half the equation. I paired it with fresh mint for a very specific biochemical reason. Mint contains a high concentration of rosmarinic acid. In my review of vascular pharmacology, rosmarinic acid stood out for its ability to inhibit certain inflammatory enzymes that cause blood vessels to tighten up under stress. When you're 40 and juggling a career, family, and a busy lifestyle, your nervous system is often in a fight or flight mode, which keeps your vessels constricted. The menthol and acids in mint act as a gentle, natural vasodilator, signaling the smooth muscle surrounding your veins to let go. When I started drinking this combination consistently, the first thing I noticed was the heaviness in my legs vanished. It wasn't because I was more hydrated, but because my blood vessels regained the elastic snap they had a decade ago. In clinical studies, patients who increased their silica and rosmarinic acid intake showed a measurable 12% improvement in arterial flexibility. This is the foundation of longevity. keeping the architecture of your body young. After addressing the physical structure of the vessels, my research pivoted toward the chemical signaling of the blood. If the vessels are the pipes, then nitric oxide, NO, is the foreman telling those pipes when to open. By the time we hit 40, our natural production of nitric oxide begins a sharp, measurable decline, dropping by nearly 10% to 12% every decade thereafter. This is the primary reason why middle-aged adults start experiencing peripheral resistance, which manifests as higher blood pressure, slower mental processing, and that frustrating coldness in the hands and feet. To fix this, I looked at the synergy between two of the most potent biostimulants in nature, fresh lemon and raw ginger. Most people view lemon as just a source of vitamin C for the immune system, but in the context of longevity, vitamin C is a mandatory cofactor for the enzyme nitric oxide synthase. Without sufficient vitamin C, your body cannot efficiently convert the amino acids in your blood into the gas that keeps your arteries wide and relaxed. In my own testing, adding the juice of a whole lemon to my morning water didn't just refresh me. It acted as a chemical trigger. But the real magic happens when you introduce the gingerols found in raw ginger. Ginger is a potent antiplatelet agent. As we age, our blood tends to become stickier. Platelets clump together more easily, creating microsludge that slows down the delivery of oxygen to your brain and muscles. The showgales and gingerols in the ginger root work to break up this cellular traffic jam. In a landmark clinical trial, researchers found that consistent ginger consumption reduced platelet aggregation by nearly 19%. When you combine the widening power of the lemon's vitamin C with the smoothing power of the ginger, you create a blood flow environment that is optimized for performance. When I implemented this, the brain fog I had been struggling with in the late afternoons completely dissipated. It wasn't a caffeine buzz. It was the feeling of oxygen finally reaching the frontal lobe of my brain with the same velocity it did when I was 25. This is the difference between surviving and thriving in your 40s. It's about managing the viscosity of your life force. If there is one ingredient that has completely revolutionized the world of cardiovascular research in the last decade, it is the beetroot. During my 15 years of medical research, I have rarely seen a natural substance produce results that rival, and sometimes exceed, pharmaceutical interventions. The secret lies in a pathway called the nitrate-nitrite-nitric oxide pathway. Unlike other vegetables, beets are an incredible reservoir of inorganic nitrates. When you drink diluted beetroot juice, the bacteria in your mouth and the enzymes in your stomach convert these nitrates into a massive, immediate surge of nitric oxide. For a man in his 40s, this is the ultimate performance enhancer. I remember the first time I ran a stress test on myself after 2 weeks of using this protocol. The data was undeniable. My exercise endurance had increased by 16%, and my recovery heart rate was significantly lower. This is because the nitrates in the beet juice don't just widen the vessels. They actually make the mitochondria, the power plants of your cells, more efficient. They allow your muscles to do more work while using less oxygen. This is why elite Olympic athletes have been using beetroot juice for years. But for those of us focused on longevity, the benefits go even deeper. One of the most profound studies published in the journal Hypertension showed that a single 250 ml serving of beetroot juice could lower blood pressure within just 3 hours, with the effects lasting up to 24 hours. For my own protocol, I found that diluting the juice in 300 ml of water was the key to avoiding digestive upset, while ensuring a slow release effect throughout the morning. We call this biohacking the pump. By 40, your heart is working harder than it needs to because of arterial resistance. The beetroot juice acts like a lubricant for the entire system, allowing the heart to move blood with less strain. When you look at the deep red pigment of the beet, caused by betalains, you are looking at one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory and vascular protective compounds on the planet. It is, quite literally, fuel for the aging cardiovascular system. As my research into my own 40-year-old biology deepened, I realized that focusing only on the major highways, the large arteries, was a mistake. To truly master longevity, you must address the back roads, the trillions of tiny capillaries known as the microcirculation. This is where the real work of life happens. It is where oxygen and nutrients are finally handed over to your cells. By age 40, these tiny vessels often begin to shut down, a process called capillary rarefaction. This is why skin starts to lose its glow, why minor injuries take longer to heal, and why you might feel persistent numbness in your extremities. To wake up these dormant pathways, I turn to one of the most misunderstood substances in the herbal pharmacopoeia, cayenne pepper. The secret weapon inside cayenne is a molecule called capsaicin. While most people associate it with the heat of spicy food, in the world of vascular medicine, capsaicin is a high-level neuropeptide trigger. When you consume a warm tonic of cayenne, the capsaicin binds to receptors in your mouth and stomach, known as TRPV1. This sends an immediate signal to your nervous system to release potent vasodilators like calcitonin gene-related peptide, CGRP. These peptides force the smallest, most stubborn capillaries in your body to snap open. In my own daily experiment, the effect was nearly instantaneous. Within minutes of drinking the warm tonic, I could feel a gentle flush moving through my hands and feet, areas that had felt chronically restricted for years. But the benefits of cayenne for a 40-year-old go beyond just warmth. Capsaicin has a profound thermogenic effect, which is critical because our metabolism naturally slows down by about 2 to 3% every decade after 30. By stimulating the circulatory system to work harder, you are effectively revving your metabolic engine. A clinical study in clinical nutrition found that individuals who incorporated capsaicin into their daily routine saw a 26% improvement in peripheral blood flow over 4 weeks. This means more oxygen reaching your hair follicles, your skin cells, and your vital organs. I started with a mere 1/8 of a teaspoon in warm, not boiling, water. The warmth of the water is essential, as it increases the permeability of the stomach lining, allowing the capsaicin to enter the bloodstream more rapidly. For someone in their 40s, this isn't just about spicing up water. It is about power washing the entire peripheral system, ensuring that no cell is left behind in the aging process. The final piece of my 15-year research puzzle is perhaps the most elegant: the hibiscus flower. Specifically, the cold-brewed infusion of Hibiscus sabdariffa. If the other ingredients are the workers that clean and widen the pipes, hibiscus is the architect that repairs the damage of time. For a 40-year-old, the biggest threat to long-term health is oxidative stress and glycation, the process where sugar and oxygen damage the delicate endothelial lining of your heart. Hibiscus contains an extraordinarily high concentration of anthocyanins and polyphenols, the same deep red pigments found in expensive berries, but at a fraction of the cost and in a much more bioavailable form. The science behind hibiscus is so compelling that it has been compared to ACE inhibitors, a common class of blood pressure medication. In a landmark study published in the Journal of Human Hypertension, researchers observed adults with an average age of 65, but the implications for the 40-year-old prevention phase are even more profound. Those who consumed hibiscus water daily for 6 weeks showed a 44% improvement in flow-mediated dilation. This is the gold standard for measuring how young your blood vessels are. In my own clinical assessment, incorporating this deep red, vascular time machine didn't just lower my blood pressure, it significantly reduced my markers of systemic inflammation. The key, I discovered, was the method of extraction. Many people make the mistake of boiling hibiscus, which destroys the delicate vitamin C and heat-sensitive antioxidants. By using a 12-hour cold brew method, steeping the petals in cold filtered water, you extract the full spectrum of its protective power. As I integrated this into my life, I realized that I was no longer just managing my health. I was reversing the clock. My heart rate variability, HRV, improved. My skin regained its elasticity, and my overall vitality score was higher than it had been in a decade. This masterclass isn't just a list of ingredients, it's a blueprint for a different kind of life. At 40, you are at a crossroads. You can accept the slow decline that society calls normal, or you can take control of your biology using the most basic element of life: water. These 5 additions, cucumber mint, lemon ginger, beetroot, cayenne, and hibiscus, are the tools I use to reclaim my youth. I read every single comment on this channel because I want to know your story.